Go drop like rain, nigga, watch me hit those trees.
Alright, here we go. Is that time again? Time to rank things? This time it's villains. And the scale will be based on how well they played their role as antagonists, and just to be clear, Danzo is not a villain. I mean, yes he is, obviously, but in the context of the story he's not. So he won't be on this list. There won't be any filler villains, and nobody who was just a center stage jerk, so people like Neji won't be on this list either. But if all that's good, then let's get started with it. Mizuki is the first ever problem that Naruto encounters, and that is the biggest reason he rounds out the bottom of this list. He can barely be called a villain, and he gets handled so thoroughly by an episode 1 MC that he is never mentioned again outside of filler. So effectively, Mizuki is on par with like forest critters. Okay, so 9 is going to be an upset for sure, but just hear me out. Itachi. And this is purely based in hindsight, but Itachi was never really a villain, and even the sort of bad things he did once the series began are bathed in mercy and good intentions. Even his first encounter with Kakashi, I was under the impression that he was not going all out just because Kakashi was down for the count, and had Itachi wanted him dead himself, or Kisame would have dealt the killing blow. And after Tsukiyomi, and even leading up to Sasuke's battle with Itachi, it was dawning on me that up to that point, the only thing Itachi was really wanted for was killing his clan and deserting the village. He's done nothing else of note in that time except for the one big thing he did damn near half a decade ago. Everything Itachi has done has been in service of the village, and even the Uchiha massacre was what Itachi was told to do in service for the village, or at least what Danzo thought was in service of the village. Kabuto cops the A spot off of raw power, because if I'm honest, Kabuto was mostly a tag-along on everybody else's plans. The only reason we even view him as a villain the way we do is all in how strong he was, and even then he gets dealt with so quickly you sometimes forget how strong Kabuto actually became. He had multiple Kekkei Genkai, all of the abilities of the Sound 5, Orochimaru DNA and Chakra, and Sage Mode on top of that. He was really up there in terms of villains you don't want to have to face, and he ends up being the reason Sasuke is still alive to continue fighting in the war. He helped start. So yeah, solid placement for Kabuto. Okay, I thought I could get him higher, but honestly, this is as far down as I could put Zabuza without feeling like I was lying. I mean, the guy is, for all intents and purposes, the first real threat the series ever sees, and still is one of the more compelling villains the show has to offer. And though his sword was probably the least interesting in the terms of the unique power it had against all the 7 swords of the ninja swordsman, it certainly was sick as hell, and a perfect fit for Zabuza, but when it first showed up, it was actually impossible to tell how long this sword really was. Alright, this middle section is actually surprising me a lot, because I could have swore Pain was going to be top 3, top 5 at least, but nope, just barely there, but no dice. And that's surprising because Pain is kind of the face of Naruto villains. His fight with Naruto has been watched more times than seconds I've been alive, and his Pain speech is damn near a classic meme, and Pain more than Nagato, because even when it's revealed that Nagato is controlling the 6 paths of pain, he again is dealt with so quickly it doesn't feel like he was as relevant as he was. And we even give leadership of the Akatsuki to Obito because it seems like Nagato has so little agency in the whole thing that he's not a player, he's just a pawn. So yeah, Nagato / Pain, number 6. Continuing the surprises, it looks like Kaguya made it all the way to 5. What exactly am I doing here? Because I can't find justification to put her lower just based on the fact that she was the answer to a lot of questions like the where's, why's, who's, and when's of Chakra. However, I refuse to put her any higher because not only do the people above her deserve their spots for sure, Kaguya was introduced from basically nowhere with a flimsy, unclear backstory, overpowered abilities, and techniques that, as the progenitor of Chakra, sure, I'll buy it, but what I won't buy is that she's sealed in the moon, and that may be the least of your gripes with Kaguya, but mine is just, why the moon? And yeah, the Eye of the Moon plan, but Is that intrinsic to the plan, her being sealed in the moon? Because I feel like she could have been sealed anywhere on Earth and we could have just found a different way to get to that same end goal. It just always struck me as stupid that the moon was just the moon right up until the last leg of the story, and then all of a sudden it's imperative to the plan in a way that was never even hinted at. Okay, here we go. Getting back into stable territory here, Obito is 4th, and his placement more than most is specifically because of the people above him. Had they not been around, Obito would be number 1, but because they are, he isn't. But that shouldn't be a knock on Obito because of all the villains that make a true impact in Naruto, he probably has the biggest. He's the villain we spend the most amount of time with and the one who has the most active influence on the story. Obito does what all villains should. He instills concern and confusion from Obito's secret identity to his dual personality role in the Akatsuki. The twists and turns that ultimately lead up to Obito taking off his mask and finally stepping into the spotlight as an active threat. I can't in good conscience put Obito any lower or higher. He is probably the most well-placed slot on this list. 3 is Sasuke, and I know for most of the manga Sasuke isn't necessarily a villain. However, his, for lack of a better word, oppositionness throughout the entirety of Shippuden is strong enough that it gets him all the way down here on the list. Past villains who actually were evil and killed way less discriminately. That's how wicked this kid was being in his passive antagonism. And even after all the mutual and personal problems are solved, Sasuke still wants... No, he needs Naruto to catch this fade. And after all is said and done, and both are one arm down, Sasuke just looks over and says, hey, my bad, I'ma just travel the world to atone, which, no, you went out of your way to be wrong. At this point, you don't get to decide your punishment. And the only reason it was half accepted is because the only other person who could rival him didn't give a rat's ass as long as he called him his friend. So I guess he does get a pass. Okay, here's where you either hate it or love it, the underdog's on top. Orochimaru was perfect villain fuel, and it's just too bad the car sprung a leak and left streaks of the Snake Man all over the highway that is the series Naruto. When introduced, he is menacing, unpredictable, creepy, and clearly in a different league of power. His personality matched every action he made, and every action he made was in pursuit of his ultimate goal, which somehow slid under the rug. He did achieve what he set out to do. But, alas, Orochimaru made it to the next installment of the series, so his only 2 options were to be irrelevant or become a good guy. So he chose both. Classic Orochimaru. You knew this was coming. You had to. I hadn't said the guy's name the entire video, and he has literally the longest build-up of the entire series, Madara Uchiha. And I don't really think I have to elaborate too crazy, but if Orochimaru is perfect villain fuel, Madara is the patch that got us from point A to B. Not necessarily what I wanted, but I'm grateful I got what I needed. Madara has drops of all the things that make the other villains great, and that's kind of his downfall. He really has no easily discernible flaws, so when it was time for him to go down, he went out in one of the silliest ways possible, and that really affects his impact in hindsight because it feels like it was all for nothing. Like if he didn't have any flaws but was so easily taken out, now your brain has to decide between one or the other, and neither is very good. But even with that glaring problem, Madara still shows up, wrecks shop, and entertains the entire time. So by a pretty wide margin, Madara takes the first place for best villain in Naruto. But hey, that's the video. Who's your favorite villain? Did I leave anyone out? Let me know down in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed the video because I appreciate you watching. So until next time, peace.
That thunder on me clap, make a nigga think before he act. Have a nigga dying on his back, then we double back. Shooters leaving rubber where you at, that's why niggas never wanna match.